In this topic, we are looking at infrastructure ACLs, and we're also going to look at COPP. So when we generally look at management and control plane, we know that those two planes have the ability to affect the CPU. So if the CPU is pegged, if it's at 90 or 95% or potentially even higher, that's when we start dropping traffic. So it's important for us to be able to protect the management and the control plane in order to prevent against that traffic from being dropped. Also, when we think about these ACLs, we also want to try to protect our devices from any type of malicious types of traffic before it can even affect the CPU. So generally, our ACLs are going to drop traffic that's destined for the IP of the network hardware themselves. And we also have the ability to log any of that data for monitoring purposes. So here we see some examples of maybe applying these infrastructure ACLs at the edge of our network. And then generally, we also want to ensure that if we make an exception to traffic that might need to go through, let's say, for example, we have some network signaling for protocols like BGP, we can at least rate limit that traffic. So if anybody is trying to use that as a way to DOS attack or DDoS attack our environment, we're at least adding an additional layer of security. So we can deploy these infrastructure ACLs just like a traditional access list on an interface. We generally want to have a structured addressing plan in place. We also have the ability to implement this on iOS and ASAs. And then Firepower also has pre-filter policies that can be used similarly to our infrastructure ACLs. Now, we also have control plane policing. COPP uses early rate limiting to basically drop traffic that's destined for the CPU. So any types of filters or rate limits on those virtual control plane interfaces. Not all platforms will support COPP, so we do have an alternative, which is control plane protection, which we'll look at here in a moment. And sometimes it just depends on what device it is that we're on and what it is that's supported. Essentially, again, we just want to ensure that our infrastructure is protected, and these are generally a little bit more manageable over our traditional infrastructure ACLs.